The Iconian battlecruisers loomed above Earth, their shadows darkening entire continents, as Emperor Novak broadcast his ultimatum: surrender and pay tribute, or be annihilated. The demand rang in the ears of every human. In the war room deep beneath Stockholm, President Eliza Sorensen slammed a fist on the table. She glared at the holographic projection of Earth's meager defenses. Novak's fleet was endless, his technology supreme. Earth's warships were hammered together from salvaged alien tech. Its missile stocks couldn't dent one Iconian ship. General Benjamin Roberts, grizzled veteran of too many lost battles, met Sorensen's fiery gaze. "Begging your pardon, Madam President, I believe we have a chance. A desperate one, aye, but a chance nonetheless." Roberts unfurled schematics of a sleek silver missile, unlike any Earth had built before. "This is the Gladiator, designed to bypass the Iconian point defenses. Classified project, highly experimental. We've kept it hidden, even from our allies. If we commit everything to an all-out surprise strike..." Sorensen's eyes widened. The plan was bold to the point of madness. But the alternative? "No, Earth will not grovel," she decided. "We'll show that tyrant what humans are made of. Get me 500,000 of these gladiators." As the Empire's deadline approached, factories roared day and night. Transports ferried the gladiators to hidden launch sites across the solar system. Iconian spies reported only frantic scrambling, no sign of the terrible arsenal Earth prepared. At last, Novak's armada arrived in the shadow of Luna, weapons charged for a massacre. 100 battlecruisers primed to glass Earth's great cities. Roberts's hand hovered over the launch controls. A final nod from Sorensen. "Cry havoc," he growled, "and let slip the missiles of war." 500,000 gladiators flashed from their tubes, seething silver clouds descending on the Iconian fleet. Point defenses screeched warnings, missiles incoming. But these were no ordinary warheads. They slipped through shields like ghosts, quantumly entangled with their target's electrons. By the time the Iconians realized their peril, it was too late. Across the void of space, 500,000 suns bloomed, annihilating Novak's armada in a holocaust of light and fury. Earth had spoken. They would never bow to tyranny. Let the galaxy bear witness. Humanity was done being prey. As the ashes of the Iconian fleet drifted in the void, Earth wasted no time pressing its advantage. The EAS Intrepid, a sleek blade of a ship, knifed through hyperspace at the head of a battle group. Its mission: to light the fires of rebellion on subjugated worlds, starting with Zephyrus. Captain Marcus Holloway stood on the Intrepid's bridge, watching the countdown to real space reversion. Tall and lean with a shock of prematurely silver hair, Holloway was famed for his cunning in the face of impossible odds. He'd need every ounce of it for the battle ahead. "Prepare for stealth insertion," Holloway ordered. "We knock out their defense grid first, give our Marines a clean drop." The Intrepid shimmered and vanished, quantum camouflage rendering it invisible to Iconian sensors. Its escorts followed suit, an unseen dagger aimed at the heart of the Empire. On the surface of Zephyrus, Sergeant Jake "Rogue" Hansen crouched in the shadows, eyeing the looming walls of the capital. Built like a tank, scarred from 100 battles, he'd been fighting the Iconians since he was old enough to hold a rifle. "Grids down!" Holloway's voice crackled over the comm. "You're clear for assault!" Hansen rose and hefted his plasma rifle. "You heard the man, Marines. Time to give these Iconian bastards a little taste of freedom." With a roar, the Marines charged, Zephyrian rebels surging alongside them. In the skies above, the Intrepid and its escorts shimmered into view, unleashing storms of missiles and arcs of lightning from their laser banks. Iconian ships ruptured and burned under the onslaught, even as they clawed back with singularity torpedoes and quantum lances. A rebel cruiser, the Zephyrian Starhawk, dove into their midst, pummeling a battlecruiser with railgun fire. "Target their engines!" Alara Vex, the Starhawk's commander, barked. A prodigy of fleet tactics, she'd waited her whole life for this chance to strike at the Iconians. "Don't let them maneuver!" On the ground, Hansen and his Marines blasted through the last Iconian defenses. Rebels poured into the streets, tearing down Imperial sigils, raising the ancient flag of Free Zephyrus. The capital had fallen. Zephyrus was free. But the elation was short-lived. Across the empire, the story repeated. Enslaved worlds rising up, casting off their shackles. And there to meet them was the Emperor's mailed fist, Warlord Carax. A monster in Iconian flesh, rumored to be immortal, Carax had quelled 1,000 uprisings. His directive from Emperor Novak was simple. Burn the rebels from the face of the galaxy. Rivers of blood, oceans of fire. No atrocity was beyond him if it kept imperial order. President Sorensen and General Roberts watched the reports with grim resolution. This was no longer a skirmish or even a battle. It was all-out war, a dream of liberation pitted against the nightmare of an empire without mercy. "We're going to need allies," Sorensen said, her eyes hardened. "And fleets, armies, an alliance to break the Iconians' iron grip." Roberts nodded grimly. It's time Earth stood up and showed the galaxy what free people can do when they stand together, at any expense. The Intrepid and the Starhawk set course for the rebel staging ground on Nexus. There the foundations of the coalition would be laid. The Empire's response would be terrible, but Earth and its allies would be ready. The fight for the soul of the galaxy had only just begun. The Intrepid's quantum engines pulsed as it dropped out of hyperspace near the rebel staging ground on Nexus. Captain Holloway stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the swirling mass of ships gathered around the planet. Vessels of all shapes and sizes, from sleek corvettes to hulking battleships, formed a patchwork armada united by a single purpose: to break the Iconian yoke. "Incoming transmission from Admiral Thorne," the COMM's officer announced. A hologram flickered to life, revealing a woman with piercing green eyes and close-cropped silver hair. Admiral Lila Thorne's reputation preceded her, a tactical genius with a penchant for unorthodox strategies. "Captain Holloway," she nodded, "welcome to the party. I hope you brought some fireworks." Holloway allowed himself a grim smile. "The Intrepid's loaded for bear, Admiral. What's our next move?" Thorne's eyes glinted. "We're hitting them where it hurts. Iconian supply lines. I want you to rendezvous with the Starhawk. You'll be part of a strike force targeting their fuel depots in the Cerberus sector." As Holloway acknowledged the order, alarms blared across the bridge. "Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace," the sensor officer shouted. A swarm of sleek, angular ships materialized, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly sheen. They moved with impossible precision, forming attack patterns faster than any human crew could react. "AI ships," Thorne growled. "Novak's new toys. All ships, evasive maneuvers." The space around Nexus erupted into chaos. Rebel ships scattered, desperately trying to avoid the lightning-fast strikes of the AI fleet. Plasma beams lanced through the void, carving through shields and armor with terrifying ease. Aboard the Starhawk, Commander Alara Vex gritted her teeth as her ship shuddered under the onslaught. "We can't match their speed or accuracy," she reported to Thorne. "We need a new strategy, fast." Thorne's mind raced, analyzing the battlefield in real time. "There," she pointed to a tactical display. "That formation, it's too perfect, too predictable. Exploit it." Following Thorne's guidance, the rebel fleet regrouped. They used the AI's mathematical precision against it, luring individual ships into traps and crossfires. It wasn't enough to turn the tide, but it bought them time. "We need to capture one of those ships," Thorne decided. "Holloway, Vex, form up on me. We're going hunting." The Intrepid, Starhawk, and Thorne's flagship, the Audacity, broke away from the main battle. They zeroed in on an isolated AI vessel, hammering it with concentrated fire. As its shields flickered and failed, Thorne gave the order. "Boarding teams, go!" Holloway led the charge, his assault shuttle rocketing towards the crippled AI ship. As they neared, he saw the vessel's armor ripple and shift, trying to seal breaches faster than they could be made. "Ghost, you're up!" Holloway called over the comm. A figure shimmered into view beside him. One moment empty space, the next a lithe, black-clad operative. Ghost nodded silently, then vanished again as the shuttle's doors hissed open. The interior of the AI ship was a maze of pulsing circuitry and strange, organic-looking structures. Robotic defenders swarmed towards them, their weapons charging with an eerie whine. "Push forward," Holloway shouted, his plasma rifle spitting blue fire. Ghost reappeared at key moments, disabling security systems and clearing paths for the boarding team. They fought their way to the ship's core, a swirling vortex of energy unlike anything they'd ever seen. As the last of the robotic defenders fell, Holloway approached the core. "Any idea how to fly this thing?" he asked. Ghost materialized beside him, fingers dancing over holographic controls. The ship shuddered, then began to move. "We've done it," Holloway breathed. "Thorn, we've captured the ship. Heading back to—" His words were cut off as the core pulsed, flooding the chamber with blinding light. When it faded, Holloway found himself staring at a hologram of incomprehensible complexity. "Captain," Ghost's normally emotionless voice held a note of awe. "This isn't Iconian tech. It's something else, something older." As rebel scientists swarmed the captured ship, piecing together the mystery of its origins, Admiral Thorn called an emergency meeting of the Coalition's leadership. The revelations about the progenitors and their technology changed everything. The war for galactic freedom had taken an unexpected turn, and humanity's next move would determine the fate of countless worlds. Admiral Lila Thorne stood before the assembled Coalition leadership, her face etched with willpower. "We've cracked the progenitor tech. Now it's time to use it." The holographic war table flickered to life, displaying the industrial sprawl of Corvin IV. Thorne's fingers danced across the display, highlighting key strategic points. "This world is the linchpin of the Empire's production capacity. We take it, we cripple their war machine." Captain Holloway leaned forward, studying the defenses. "Those orbital platforms look nasty, Admiral." "They are," Thorne nodded, "which is why we're bringing everything we've got." As the Coalition Armada dropped out of hyperspace above Corvin IV, the sky lit up with anti-orbital fire. The Indomitable's shields flared under the assault, but held firm. "All ships, engage at will!" Thorne's voice crackled across the comms. "Phantom Squadron, you're clear for atmospheric insertion." Ghost watched the battle unfold from the cockpit of his stealth dropship. As the Coalition fleet traded salvos with the orbital defenses, his team of operatives prepared for planetfall. "Remember," Ghost's modulated voice filled the cabin, "we hit hard, we hit fast, and we disappear. Clear those supply depots so our main force can land." The dropship screamed through the atmosphere, sensors tracking the ebb and flow of the ground battle. Ghost's HUD highlighted their targets, a series of heavily fortified Iconian supply hubs. "30 seconds to insertion," the pilot called out. Ghost nodded to his team. Human Special Forces, veterans stood shoulder to shoulder with Valkyrian Shadow Walkers and Zephyrian Psyops. "Lock and load." The instant the dropship's ramp lowered, chaos erupted. Ghost's team moved like liquid shadow, their progenitor-enhanced stealth suits rendering them nearly invisible. They slipped past Iconian patrols, planting demo charges on fuel tanks and munition stores. A Valkyrian operative, Kira, materialized at Ghost's side. "Charges set on the eastern hub, but we've got incoming. Looks like they've deployed energy sniffers." Ghost's mind raced, calculating angles and probabilities. "Rin," he calmed the team's Zephyrian Psyop, "can you mask our signatures?" "For a short time," came the strained reply. "But it'll take everything I've got." "Do it," Ghost ordered. "Everyone else, prepare to go loud on my mark." As Rin's psionic field enveloped them, Ghost led the charge toward the final objective. They sprinted past confused Iconian patrols, their energy signatures cloaked by Rin's abilities. They reached the central comm relay just as Rin's power gave out. Alarms blared, and Iconian troops poured into the area. "Now!" Ghost shouted. The night exploded into carnage. Ghost's team unleashed salvos of plasma fire, cutting down waves of Iconian soldiers. As they fought, Ghost worked furiously to upload a virus into the relay systems. "Upload complete," he announced. "Blow the charges and fall back to extract point Alpha." A series of earthquaking explosions rocked the compound. As fires raged and Iconian communications dissolved into static, Ghost's team vanished into the smoke. High above, the space battle had reached a fever pitch. The Indomitable's hull was scarred and blackened, but Thorne's tactics had slowly whittled away at the orbital defenses. "Now's our chance," Thorne growled. "All ships, concentrate fire on the primary shield generator." A storm of missiles and energy beams converged on a single point. For a moment, it seemed as if even this assault would fail against the Iconian defenses. Then, with a soundless flash, the generator overloaded. "Shields down," Holloway reported from the Intrepid. "We have our window." Thorne's voice rang out across all frequencies. "All dropships, you are clear for planetfall. I repeat, the invasion is a go." Thousands of Alliance troops poured from the heavens, their dropships screaming towards pre-designated landing zones. As they touched down, the urban warfare ignited in earnest. Days stretched into weeks. The coalition clawed for every city block, every factory, every strategic choke point. Holloway found himself in the thick of it, leading a mixed unit of human and alien troops through the rubble-strewn streets. "Contact left," a Zephyrian scout called out. Holloway ducked as particle beams sliced through the air above him. He returned fire, his rifle spitting superheated plasma. "Push forward," he shouted. "We take this sector, we cut off their entire southern flank." The fighting was brutal, but slowly, inevitably, the Iconians were pushed back. After weeks of grinding combat, the last Imperial stronghold fell. Corvin IV was free. As Holloway watched the coalition flag raised over the planet's capital, his comlink crackled to life. It was Thorne, her voice tight with urgency. "Captain, get your team back to the Intrepid immediately. The Empire, they've unveiled something big." Holloway's blood ran cold at the fear in Thorne's voice. Whatever was coming, he knew humanity's greatest test still lay ahead. Holloway's boots echoed through the Intrepid's corridors as he raced to the bridge. The fear in Thorne's voice had set his nerves on edge. As the doors hissed open, he was met with a scene of controlled chaos. "Status report," he barked. Thorne's hologram flickered before him, her face grim. "The Empire's unveiled something called Xenoforge weapons. They're like nothing we've ever seen." A tactical display materialized, showing grainy footage of entire planetary surfaces warping and reshaping under an otherworldly energy field. Holloway felt his stomach lurch. "How do we stop this?" he asked. "We don't," General Roberts' gruff voice cut in as he joined the holographic conference. "Not conventionally, at least. We're proposing Operation Guillotine." As Thorne and Roberts laid out the audacious plan to strike at Emperor Novak himself, Holloway's mind raced. It was insane, suicidal even. But faced with the Xenoforge's apocalyptic potential, what choice did they have? Weeks passed in a blur of intense preparation. Ghost stood before his assembled team, a motley crew of the galaxy's deadliest operatives. Lieutenant Ren Jaska, a Quaraxian with skin like burnished copper, ran final diagnostics on their stealth gear. Beside him, the Valkoran assassin Tara Zylas moved through combat forms with liquid grace, her black eyes glittering. "One last time," Ghost's modulated voice filled the room. "Our window is tight. We get in, we locate Novak, we get out. Any questions?" Silence greeted him. These weren't green recruits. Each member of the team knew the stakes. The experimental stealth shuttle hummed to life, its adaptive camouflage rendering it nearly invisible. As they broke atmosphere, the vast space battle unfolding around Homeworld Alpha filled their viewports. The rebel fleet had committed everything to this diversionary attack. Ghost felt the familiar surge of adrenaline as they pierced Avalos's defensive grid. The sprawling capital was a maze of soaring spires and labyrinthine streets. They touched down in a shadowed alley, the shuttle's ramp barely touching the ground before the team was moving. "Drones deployed," Jaska muttered, his cybernetic eye whirring as it processed incoming data. "Patrol patterns mapped. We've got a clear route to the data vault." They moved like ghosts through the city, their progenitor-enhanced suits bending light around them. The few citizens they encountered hurried past with downcast eyes, too cowed by Imperial rule to notice anything amiss. The data vault loomed before them, a fortress of gleaming metal and pulsing energy fields. Ghost nodded to Xylas, who produced a device that looked like liquid mercury. She expertly manipulated it, and the vault's defenses flickered for a crucial moment. Inside, Jaska's fingers flew over holographic interfaces. "I'm in," he hissed. "Novak's location. Got it. He's holed up in the Royal Palace Central Spire." A distant explosion rocked the building. Their diversion was working, but time was running short. As they exited the vault, a patrol of Warlord Carax's elite guard rounded the corner. For a heartbeat, both groups froze in mutual shock. Then all hell broke loose. Xylas moved like a demon, her monofilament blades slicing through armor seamlessly. Ghost and Jaska provided covering fire, their weapons set to their highest armor-piercing settings. In seconds, it was over. "Move!" Ghost ordered, knowing their stealth was blown. They raced through the streets, alarms blaring in their wake. The royal palace loomed ahead, its defenses already on high alert. As they fought their way inside, Ghost couldn't shake the feeling that they were running headlong into a trap. The inner sanctum was a maze of opulent corridors and deadly traps. Cybernetic sentries emerged from hidden alcoves, their weapons blazing. Ghost's team moved with practiced precision, each covering the other's blind spots. They were so close. Ghost could feel it. And then the world exploded. The blast knocked them off their feet, alarms screaming through the palace. "Novak's initiated the self-destruct," Jaska shouted over the din. "We've got minutes, tops." Ghost's mind raced. They'd come too far to fail now. "New plan," he growled. "We split up. Jaska, Xylas, find an exit, prep for exfil. I'm going after Novak." He didn't wait for acknowledgement, sprinting deeper into the collapsing palace. The Emperor's personal guards swarmed him, but Ghost was beyond stopping. He fought with cold mechanical efficiency, each movement bringing him closer to his target. The doors to Novak's chambers buckled under Ghost's assault. As the smoke cleared, he found himself face to face with the architect of so much galactic suffering. Novak sneered, raising a weapon of impossible complexity. "You're too late," the Emperor snarled. "Even if you take me, Praetor Vicor will—" Ghost didn't hesitate. A precise shot sent Novak crumpling to the floor, stunned but alive. As he secured the unconscious Emperor, his comms crackled to life. "Ghost!" It was Jaska, his voice tight with urgency. "We've got an exit, but Xylas is hit bad. We need to move now." Ghost hefted Novak over his shoulder, his mind racing. The mission parameters were clear. Securing the Emperor was the top priority, but leaving a teammate behind went against everything he believed in. As he raced through the disintegrating palace, alarms blaring and chunks of ceiling raining down around him, Ghost knew he faced an impossible choice. The future of the stars hung in the balance. Balance tipped. Ghost made his choice. "Jaska, hold position. I'm coming to you." He sprinted through the crumbling corridors, Novak's unconscious form slung over his shoulder. The palace shuddered. Support beams groaned. Ghost's HUD flashed warnings of imminent structural collapse. He pushed harder, each footfall precise despite the chaos. He found Jaska crouched behind a fallen pillar, laying down suppressing fire. Xylas lay nearby, her black bodysuit stained darker still. "Can you move?" Ghost asked, already assessing her wounds. Xylas gritted her teeth. "Just get me up." Ghost nodded to Jaska. "Take Novak. I've got her." They moved as one, a well-oiled machine even under extreme duress. Ghost supported Xylas, her arm draped over his shoulder. Jaska took point, Novak tucked under one arm while he fired with his free hand. The building screamed around them. Chunks of masonry rained down, forcing them to weave and dodge. Ghost's muscles burned, but he pushed the pain aside. One foot in front of the other. Again and again. They burst into open air moments before the central spire collapsed. The shockwave knocked them sprawling. Ghost's ears rang, vision blurred. He forced himself up, scanning for threats. "Extractions inbound," Jaska reported, voice muffled through the high-pitched whine in Ghost's ears. Their stealth shuttle screamed overhead, repulsors flaring as it executed a combat landing. The team scrambled aboard, Ghost dragging Xylas up the ramp. "Go!" he shouted to the pilot. The shuttle leapt skyward, weaving through anti-aircraft fire. Ghost worked furiously to stabilize Xylas. "Stay with me," he muttered. Her eyes fluttered, unfocused. The shuttle bucked and rolled. Outside, the space battle raged. Alliance ships traded fire with Imperial defenders. Explosions bloomed silently in the void. "Incoming transmission," the pilot called out. "It's Admiral Thorn." Thorn's hologram flickered to life, her expression grim. "Ghost, report." "Package secured," Ghost replied, nodding to the unconscious Novak. "But we've got wounded." Thorn's brow furrowed. "Get to the Indomitable immediately. We have a new crisis." The words chilled Ghost's blood. What could be worse than what they'd just accomplished? The Indomitable's hangar bay was a hive of frantic activity. Medics swarmed their shuttle as it touched down. Ghost watched as they whisked Xylas away on a gurney, her face pale beneath the sheen of sweat. "Ghost!" Holloway jogged up, his face etched with worry. "We need you on the bridge. Now." As they strode through the corridors, Holloway filled him in. "It's Praetor Viker. He's making his move." The bridge was a cacophony of alarms and urgent voices. Tactical displays showed a massive energy signature building on a distant world. "Keralis Prime," Thorn's voice cut through the din. She stood before a holographic star chart, her posture tense. V-Cores activated the Xenoforge. Ghost's mind raced. "I thought that was theoretical." "Not anymore," Thorn grimaced. "We're scrambling everything we have, but V-Corps' new Omega Dreadnoughts are tearing through our picket lines." The displays showed it all too clearly. Massive Imperial ships, unlike anything Ghost had ever seen, decimating Alliance forces. "Your team is our best shot at stopping this," Thorn locked eyes with Ghost. "We need you on the ground, inside that facility." Ghost nodded, his fatigue forgotten. "What's the plan?" As Thorn outlined the desperate assault, Ghost's comlink chimed. It was Jaska. "Xylas is stable," the Coraxian reported. "She's insisting on joining the mission." Ghost allowed himself a small smile. Some things never changed. Alarms blared. The Indomitable shuddered under sudden impacts. "Omega Dreadnoughts," a sensor officer called out. "They've broken through." Thorn's face hardened. "All hands, battle stations. Ghost, get your team ready. We're going in hot." As Ghost sprinted towards the armory, he knew the hardest fight still lay ahead. The fate of the Galactic realm would be decided on Keralis Prime. Ghost's team emerged from the smoldering ruins of Keralis Prime, their victory over V-Corps and the Xenoforge hollow in the wake of Admiral Thorn's sacrifice. As the dust settled, the liberated worlds faced an uncertain future. Months later, on the newly christened capital world of Novatus, delegates from across the galaxy gathered in the sprawling assembly hall. The air hummed with a cacophony of alien languages, as species once subjugated by the Empire now debated their shared destiny. General Roberts stood at the podium, his weathered face illuminated by holographic displays. "We cannot simply replace one tyranny with another," he declared, his voice carrying across the chamber. "The Alliance must be a coalition of equals, each world retaining its sovereignty while contributing to our mutual defense." Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. An avian scree representative trilled in agreement, while a gelatinous morphon pulsed with uncertainty. In the shadows of the upper gallery, Ghost observed the proceedings, his expression unreadable behind his mask. The weight of recent events pressed heavily upon him. He turned away, unable to shake the memory of the choice he'd made on Homeworld Alpha. Later, in a stark training facility on Novatus's outskirts, Ghost stood before a group of elite operatives, the first recruits of the Phantom Corps. Their faces were a mix of commitment and awe as he addressed them. "You are the shield and the sword of the Alliance," Ghost's modulated voice echoed through the room. "When conventional forces fail, you will be our last line of defense." As he put the recruits through their paces, Ghost's comlink chimed. It was Alara Vex, her hologram materializing with an urgent expression. "Ghost, we have a situation," she said, her luminous Zephyrian eyes narrowing. "I've uncovered chatter about Imperial remnants regrouping on Corythus. They're after progenitor tech from the Xenoforge ruins." Ghost's mind raced. "Who's leading them?" Overseer Malgraith, Vex replied, her tone grim. He's gathering the Empire's deadliest warriors and brightest minds. If they succeed in weaponizing that tech— Ghost nodded. Assemble the team. We strike immediately. The stealth shuttle cut through Corithos's turbulent atmosphere, its adaptive camouflage barely visible against the stormy sky. Inside, Ghost briefed his Phantom Core strike team. Our objective is simple, he said, bringing up a holographic schematic. Infiltrate Malgraith's compound, secure or destroy the progenitor data. Expect heavy resistance. They touched down in a secluded ravine, the shuttle's ramp barely touching the ground before the team was moving. They advanced through dense alien foliage, their suits providing perfect camouflage. As they approached the compound's perimeter, proximity alarms suddenly blared to life. Spotlight beams cut through the darkness, and the air filled with the whine of charging weapons. It's a trap, Ghost shouted, diving for cover as energy bolts sizzled past. Malgraith's voice boomed from hidden speakers. Did you really think we wouldn't be prepared for you, Ghost? From concealed bunkers emerged grotesque figures, Malgraith's purge troopers. Their bodies were a nightmarish fusion of flesh and cybernetics, moving with inhuman speed and precision. Ghost's team fought desperately, but they were quickly overwhelmed. Pinned down and outgunned, Ghost prepared for a last stand when an unexpected explosion rocked the compound. Through the smoke strode a familiar figure, Warlord Carax, his battle armor scored and pitted, but still formidable. Need a hand, old enemy? Carax growled, extending a gauntleted fist to Ghost. Ghost hesitated for a moment before clasping Carax's arm. Why are you here? Carax's eyes narrowed. Vicor, Malgraith, they're power-mad fools who tear the galaxy apart. Whatever our past, we both know the danger of unchecked progenitor tech. With Carax's aid, Ghost's team fought their way deeper into the compound. They battled through corridors lined with strange alien artifacts and pulsing energy fields. In the central chamber, they confronted Overseer Malgraith. The Imperial scientist sneered, activating a shimmering force field around himself. You're too late, Malgraith gloated. The secrets of the progenitors are mine. Ghost and Carax exchanged a look, then launched a coordinated assault. Their combined firepower overwhelmed Malgraith's defenses. As the Overseer fell, mortally wounded, his hand clutched a strange device. If I can't have it, Malgraith wheezed, no one will. He activated the device and the facility began to shake violently. Progenitor doomsday weapon, Carax growled. This whole planet is coming apart. As klaxons blared and the base crumbled around them, Ghost faced Carax. The database! Hand it over! Carax hesitated, then nodded. Take it, but know this, Ghost. Our alliance ends here. Next time we meet, it may not be as friends. Ghost secured the progenitor data as his team raced for extraction. The planet's surface fractured beneath them, geysers of superheated plasma erupting into the sky. Their shuttle barely cleared the atmosphere as Corithos tore itself apart. Ghost stared at the database in his hands, knowing the galaxy's future might hinge on its contents. On Novatus, Ghost stood before the newly formed Alliance Council. General Roberts and Alara Vex listened intently as he delivered his report. The threat isn't over, Ghost concluded. If these progenitor secrets fall into the wrong hands, we could face a danger that dwarfs even the Xenoforge. Roberts nodded gravely. Then we must be prepared. The Phantom Core may be our best hope. As the council debated their next move, Ghost's mind turned to Carax. He knew their paths would cross again, but as allies or enemies remained to be seen. Ghost's warning echoed in the council chambers as alarms blared throughout the Novatus command center. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing a cascade of distress signals from across Alliance space. Multiple attacks reported, a comms officer called out, her voice tight with tension. Curler 5, Thalos Prime, Zeta Eridani, they're all under assault. General Roberts leaned over the tactical display, his face grim. What are we dealing with? Ghost stepped forward, studying the incoming data. Necrosphere constructs, just as I feared. The hologram showed grotesque biomechanical entities swarming over defenseless colonies. Buildings crumbled, vegetation withered, and terrified civilians were consumed by a tide of writhing metal and flesh. "By the stars," Alara Vex whispered, her luminous eyes wide with horror. Roberts barked orders, mobilizing every available ship and ground force. But as reports flooded in, it became clear that conventional tactics were failing. The necrosphere constructs adapted to each new weapon, each desperate strategy. Ghost comlink chirped. It was Jaska, his voice tight with urgency. "Ghost, we've got a situation at the Ortanian Rift. You need to see this." The tactical display shifted, revealing a massive battle unfolding. The Black Legion's warships unleashed volleys of devastating Banjax artillery against a colossal biomechanical construct, the Dominator. Energy beams lanced out, vaporizing entire squadrons of fighters. "Carax," Ghost muttered, recognizing the warlord's distinctive battle formations. As they watched, the Black Legion's ships began to falter. The Dominator's shields shrugged off their most powerful attacks. Carax's flagship, battered and burning, limped away from the battle. "We need a new approach," Ghost said, his mind racing. "A strike team. We hit them at the source." Roberts nodded grimly. "Assemble your best, whatever resources you need." Ghost strode through the corridors of the Phantom Corps training facility, tapping his comlink. "Jaska, Xylus, gear up. We're Oscar Mike in 10. He paused at the entrance to the training arena, watching a lithe figure decimate a group of combat drones. Her movements were fluid, precise, and utterly lethal. "Lieutenant Krask," Ghost called out. The Coraxian commando whirled, her four eyes narrowing. "How'd you like a shot at redemption?" Talara Krask's mandibles clicked in what might have been a grim smile. "Just point me at the enemy, sir." The stealth shuttle cut through the swirling gases of the Krahir Nebula, its sensors straining against the electromagnetic interference. Ghost studied the readouts, searching for any sign of Archon's hidden base. "There," Xylus pointed, her cybernetic eye whirring as it zoomed in on a volcanic planetoid. "Energy signatures consistent with progenitor tech." They touched down on Korask's hellish surface, magma flows casting an eerie glow across the scorched landscape. The team moved swiftly, their environment suits barely withstanding the intense heat. They found the entrance to Archon's facility carved into the side of a dormant volcano. Inside, they discovered nightmarish laboratories where Imperial scientists worked feverishly, fusing squirming masses of progenitor biotech with cybernetic implants. "By the void," Jaska whispered, his voice filled with revulsion. An alarm klaxon shattered the air. Archon's augmented warriors poured from side passages, their bodies a horrific melding of flesh, metal, and alien technology. Ghost's team fought desperately, cutting through waves of monstrous defenders. But with each fallen enemy, the truth became clear. They were hopelessly outmatched. As they retreated to a defensible position, Ghost made a decision that went against every instinct. He pulled a small device from a hidden compartment in his armor. "What is that?" Talara asked, her voice wary. Ghost's fingers danced across the device's surface, inputting a complex sequence. "Our only hope," he replied grimly. "I'm calling in an old debt." The air shimmered, and a ghostly figure materialized before them. Its form was constantly shifting, a cascade of otherworldly symbols and geometric patterns. "Hello, Ghost," the entity said, its voice a harmonic blend of tones. "It has been some time." Ghost nodded at the progenitor AI. "Hello, Apiros. We need your help." Ghost nodded at the progenitor AI. "Hello, Apiros. We need your help." The entity's form shimmered, geometric patterns swirling in a hypnotic dance. "Fascinating. You've accessed my emergency protocols. What crisis demands such desperate measures?" As if in answer, the facility shook violently. Distant explosions echoed through the corridors. "The Dominator," Ghost explained quickly, "Archon's twisted fusion of progenitor tech. It's consuming entire worlds." Aperos's form pulsed with what might have been concern. "An abomination. I can provide the knowledge to counter it, but at a price." Jaska glanced nervously at the approaching sounds of battle. "Whatever it is, we'll pay it." "My core intelligence is fragmented, hidden across several worlds," Aperos said. "Help me recover those fragments, and I'll give you the means to stop the Dominator. Ghost exchanged looks with his team. They nodded grimly. Agreed, Ghost said. Now how do we get out of here? Apeiros' form expanded, enveloping them in a cocoon of shifting light. When it receded, they stood on the bridge of an Alliance cruiser. General Roberts spun, startled by their sudden appearance. Ghost! What in the void? No time to explain, Ghost interrupted. We need to mobilize every available asset. I'm transmitting coordinates for high-priority recovery missions. As Alliance teams scrambled to retrieve Apeiros' fragments, Ghost outlined a daring plan. We hit Arcan's base on Karask, steal the Dominator's control codes, while Karax keeps its armada busy. Roberts nodded, already issuing orders. I'll coordinate with the Black Legion, but Ghost, be careful down there. The stealth shuttle pierced Karask's turbulent atmosphere, volcanic gases swirling around its hull. Ghost led his team through winding tunnels of cooled magma, the air shimmering with heat. They breached the outer defenses of Archon's facility, only to be met by waves of cybernetically enhanced warriors. The team fought desperately, but they were slowly overwhelmed. Talara Krask struck down 3 attackers with lightning-fast precision, but a stun blast caught her from behind. Ghost lunged to help, only to be pinned down by concentrated fire. Archon's laughter echoed through the chamber as he emerged from the shadows. Did you really think you could stop the inevitable, Ghost? With a gesture, Archon activated a massive view screen. It showed the Quaraxian homeworld, surrounded by ominous Dominator constructs. A simple choice, Lieutenant Krask, Archon sneered. Surrender Ghost to me, or watch your entire species be assimilated. Talara's 4 eyes widened in horror. She looked at Ghost, anguish etched across her alien features. Don't do it, Ghost said softly. The galaxy is more important than any one race. Talara's mandibles clicked rapidly, her hand inching towards her sidearm. The tension in the room was palpable. Suddenly, the facility rocked with a massive explosion. Alarms blared as Alliance drop pods smashed through the volcanic rock. General Roberts himself led the charge, his power armor gleaming. Looks like you could use some backup, Roberts growled, unleashing a barrage that sent Archon's forces scattering. In the chaos, Ghost spotted the central control terminal. He dove for it, dodging energy blasts and falling debris. His fingers flew across the alien interface, downloading the Dominator's core codes. We've got what we came for, Ghost shouted. Fall back! As they retreated, the volcanic instability triggered by the battle reached a critical point. Magma burst through fissures in the rock, consuming Archon's screaming form. They barely made it to the extraction point as Karask tore itself apart. Ghost clutched the data module containing the precious control codes, his mind already racing to the next phase of the plan. In orbit above Vengra Prime, Karax's Black Legion unleashed hell upon the Dominator's armada. Banjak's artillery lit up the void, carving swaths through the biomechanical horrors. But for every construct they destroyed, 2 more took its place. Karax watched grimly as his fleet's numbers dwindled. Hold the line, he roared over the comms. We must buy time for the Alliance. Just as defeat seemed certain, encrypted transmissions flooded in. The recovery teams had secured Apeiros' core fragments, but something was wrong. The AI's reintegration process had hit a critical failure. Ghost's voice crackled over the secure channel. Karax, we're diverting to the integration site. The control codes might stabilize Apeiros. Understood, Karax growled. We'll keep these abominations occupied. Just hurry. Ghost's shuttle screamed towards the coordinates of Apeiros' hidden nexus. As they approached, they saw the Dominator's massive form looming in the distance, sensing the threat. We're out of time, Jaska said, fear evident in his voice. Ghost nodded grimly. Then we make our own. They landed hard, racing into the ancient progenitor facility. Ghost found the central interface and plugged in the stolen control codes. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a surge of otherworldly energy, Apeiros burst into full consciousness. At last, the AI's voice resonated through the structure. I am whole once more. The Nexus hummed to life, revealing defenses beyond anything they had imagined. As the Dominator's forces descended, they were met with a storm of progenitor weaponry. Ghost watched in awe as the battle unfolded on tactical displays. "Is it enough?" he asked. Apiros's reply was tinged with uncertainty. "Perhaps, but the cost may be higher than you're willing to pay." Apiros's reply was tinged with uncertainty. "Perhaps, but the cost may be higher than you're willing to pay." The facility shuddered as the Dominator's forces redoubled their assault. Ghost gripped the console, his mind racing. "What do you mean?" The AI's form flickered, its geometric patterns shifting chaotically. The Dominator was merely a prototype. There is a greater threat, one that could annihilate all biological life in the galaxy. Jaska's eyes widened. "Worse than the Dominator? How is that possible?" Before Aperos could respond, the tactical display lit up with urgent alerts. General Roberts' voice crackled over the comms, strained and filled with static. "Ghost, we've got a situation. Multiple systems are reporting anomalies. It's like reality itself is unraveling." Ghost felt a chill run down his spine. "Aperos, explain. Now?" The AI's form expanded, filling the chamber with swirling light and complex equations. The Omega Terminus, an immense autonomous armada created by the progenitors. Its neural networks are awakening, triggered by the Dominator's defeat. On the tactical display, entire star systems began to flicker and distort. Ghost watched in horror as the planet Thalos Prime aged centuries in a matter of minutes, its atmosphere dissipating into space. "By the void," Talara whispered, her mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. Aperos continued, its voice resonating with urgency. "The Omega command nodes are generating entropic fields, altering the fabric of reality. Conventional weapons will be useless against them." Ghost's mind raced, assessing their dwindling options. He opened a secure channel to the Alliance fleet. "This is Ghost. We need to assemble a strike team. Our targets are the Omega command nodes." Carax's gruff voice cut in. "The Black Legion stands ready. What's the plan?" "We go in hard and fast," Ghost replied, his voice grim. "Infiltrate the command nodes and sabotage them from within. It's our only shot." The chamber filled with a cacophony of voices as the Allied forces coordinated their bold strategy. Ghost turned to his team, seeing the drive etched on their faces. "Jaska, you're with me. We'll hit the node on Corvesh," Ghost ordered. "Talara, take your Zersturer commandos and target the shipyards. We need to redirect their firepower against the planet-based node." Talara nodded, her four eyes narrowing with focus. "Understood, sir. We won't fail." As they prepared to move out, Aperos' form coalesced into a more solid shape. "There is one more thing you must know. The prime nexus of the Omega network exists in a micro-universe at the galactic core. If we can overload it with harvested entropic energy..." Ghost nodded grimly. "Then that's where we make our final stand." The facility rocked with another explosion, reminding them of the battle still raging outside. Ghost turned to his team, his voice steady despite the weight of what lay ahead. "Let's move. We've got a galaxy to save." As they raced towards their waiting shuttles, Ghost couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would demand sacrifices beyond anything they had faced before. The fate of countless worlds now hung in the balance, and the clock was ticking.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.